If you are a Democrat in Washington, the playbook has been the same for the last century. Lie. Lie to the public, lie to voters, lie to everyone. Just lie to make the narrative, bend to your message. Joe Biden has cancer, meaning we should all suddenly forget that he's also got dementia. And they are doing the exact same thing with Donald Trump. At least they're trying. Lie to the point where they don't even hide it anymore. According to a new poll, Donald Trump's approval rating is now at 51%, which is pretty good. Any president would be just fine with more than half the country approving of the job that they're doing. So how does the New York Times cover that story? Well, they lie. Here's the headline. The one thing helping Donald Trump's approval rating, some people are not paying attention. Oh yeah, that must be it, New York Times. People aren't paying attention. I'm sure that's the reason. Let me ask you this. What about the 64% of Americans who said Joe Biden shouldn't run for president again in 2024, according to a New York Times poll? What was happening then, New York Times? Were people just not paying attention? The truth is that people were paying attention then, and they are paying attention now. Hundreds of thousands of people are watching this program right now, and I thank every one of you for it. The majority of people watching are not doctors, though. Yet somehow most of you could tell that there was something wrong with Joe Biden. But Democrats today are doing exactly what they've always done when they don't like the truth. They lie and they try to bend the narrative back to them.
It seems to me entirely inappropriate that at this moment in time, when President Biden is dealing with a serious and aggressive form of cancer, there are Republicans who are peddling conspiracy theories and want us to look backward. And Republicans want to fan the flames of conspiracy theories at this moment. No, thank you.
I've got to admit, I'm already tired of this poor Joe Biden narrative. Joe Biden's diagnosis should not be the end of this story. It should be the beginning. And isn't the timing fascinating? Why did the Biden family suddenly release this information essentially on the same day that the audio from the embarrassing Biden-Hur interview came out? Door number one, the Bidens wanted that story to take over the news cycle so people wouldn't focus on how bad and how out of touch Joe Biden sounded on those tapes. Door number two, the Bidens told the world that he had cancer to try and make Joe Biden seem more sympathetic. But that narrative really only coming from people who seem to have forgotten what Joe Biden did to this country. John McCain's daughter, Meghan McCain, tweeting, "I don't know if it's just my background, but I don't want to hear anything else about Biden's health cover-up, the tell-alls, interviews. Let the Biden family be in peace right now. This is all so sad and imprudent." And that's exactly how the Biden family wants people to react, Meghan. But imprudent is the wrong word. It's important. It's too important a story to drop. Joe Biden's not your uncle or your neighbor. Joe Biden was president of the United States 4 months ago today. Joe Biden was still president. Joe Biden is a liar, and he wanted to be president again. He's petty, he's cruel, and we will not stop our investigation into the truth because people have already moved on to thoughts and prayers. Piers Morgan tweeting that I'm going to block anyone I see mocking, celebrating, or playing partisan politics with Joe Biden's health news. The man served his country for 50 years. Show some bloody respect. Piers, give me a break. No, this is the exact time that we should be asking these difficult questions right now. Not tomorrow, not when Joe Biden's dead, which could be soon. I'm sorry, that's just the truth. We should be asking these questions today, now. And door number three. The Biden family made the announcement to discredit Jake Tapper and his fancy new book and let their forever loyal friends in the media defend them once again, which they are faithfully doing once again.
I think that the majority of U.S. families will feel for the Bidens. I don't think this is a time for politics, but what I will say is that this administration has cut cancer funding research by 31% since 2025.
The Joe Biden we know is a man who has been very open about his challenges in life. He didn't need to tell us that he had a Gleason score of 9, stage 4 prostate cancer. He's a private citizen now. Every challenge that Joe Biden and Jill Biden have faced in their life, they have taken the American people along to help us when we face the same challenges.
This is not something he was carrying around or that he was hiding. And as Anna said, we know about his struggles. We know about his struggles, and now we know about this one. And I just, again, want to commend the people who cut their tongues off and said, get well soon.
The people who didn't cut their tongues off, I have a place where they can put them.
Woo! Oh, that was so funny. That's a nice visual, huh? What do you mean, put our tongues? What are you implying there? And oh yeah, Joe Biden didn't need to tell the public anything because he was diagnosed after he left office, right? There's no way Joe Biden had cancer when he was in the White House. There's no way he was lying to the public right up until like noontime on Saturday, right? Wrong. Obviously, the saddest part about that is there are people out there right now who believe that's the truth. And that's the worst part of this. There are people who truly believe that Jill Biden is a loving wife. True transparency would have been a national address to the country 3 years ago, announcing that while he maybe feels fine at the moment, which also would have been a lie, Joe Biden is not going to be running for president in 2024. But none of that ever happened, which continues a long, almost uniquely Democratic tradition of Democratic presidents lying to the public and a complicit media covering up the truth. This has been going on for more than 100 years. It started with Woodrow Wilson. He had a stroke in office in 1919. He was planning on running for a third term. It left him almost completely incapacitated. He couldn't speak. The press knew, but they kept the truth from the American people. His wife was essentially the president for the final year of his term. He died right after he left office. Then, just a few years later, it was FDR. FDR had polio, and he was in a wheelchair for his entire presidency. But most Americans, like over 95% at that time, had no idea because the media didn't talk about it. His health was so bad in 1944 that after he won his fourth term, he died just a few months later, and Harry Truman took over and dropped 2 atomic bombs on 2 cities in Japan. In 1960, John F. Kennedy, another Democrat, was elected. JFK had Addison's disease, among several other ailments, all of this hidden from the public by a complicit media. Today we call them the legacy media. I always call them the legacy media because they have such a long legacy of lying to you. That is their legacy. Walter Cronkite? My grandparents loved Walter Cronkite. He used to sail with JFK. He used to sail with Bill Clinton. You think he wasn't biased? He was. And then, of course, along came Joe Biden, continuing this tradition of Democrats lying to the public about their health. How did this happen? You might be wondering. Well, just like it always has, it starts with people like this in the media.
The timing, Jessica, is just extraordinary. We know from the statement from his personal spokesman that Biden learned of the diagnosis on Friday. Well, what was the biggest Biden story on Friday? It was the release of those audio excerpts from his conversations with Robert Hur back in 2023. So you have that as one element of the timing here. And then you have, as you and Paul just acknowledged, this book coming out, one of the biggest political books in several years.
My goodness. After that, it takes a doctor who's willing to do the opposite of the Hippocratic Oath, which all doctors have to take. The first line states, do no harm. You need someone that will do harm. You need to trust somebody, and you need to trust this person to lie on your behalf. I want to introduce you to Kevin O'Connor. 5 feet tall, by the way. Joe Biden's my height, right around 6 feet tall. That's Kevin O'Connor, 5 feet tall. This guy volunteered on Joe Biden's campaign as a kid. He donated money to Joe Biden's campaign, and he became White House doctor when Joe Biden was elected president in 2020.
Moving to the future, where do you see yourself 5 to 10 years from now? You're still a relatively young guy.
Well, thanks for saying that, but not true. In 5 years, of course, I'll be taking care of President Biden, who will be comfortably in his second term after capably winning his election. I'm teasing, but no, I will let that decide my fate there. But in 10, be kind of cool to be a grandpa with a lake house, but I don't ever think I'll be leaving medicine. You know, I haven't found anything else I'm that good at.
That was Joe Biden's doctor. And for whatever reason, this guy has been completely immune from criticism. I do not know why Republicans in Congress have not subpoenaed this guy to testify yet. It should have already happened. They haven't done it yet to testify about what was going on at the White House for the last 4 years. This guy with a medical degree who concealed Joe Biden's condition from the public every day for 4 years, and we don't think he's going to be practicing medicine for much longer. I hope that Republicans call him again. Here he is. Joe Biden makes Joe Biden look like he's 11 feet tall. Joe Biden is my height. I am not that tall. This little man right here, Kevin O'Connor, may have done more harm to this country than anyone else. Do no harm. For a long time, Americans told themselves, they lulled themselves to sleep, thinking that the lies of the past could never happen again, that a president in a wheelchair or a president who was completely incapacitated like Woodrow Wilson could never happen again, not in this day and age. But the propaganda machine can make sheep believe anything they want, and we just learned that again the hard way. In the end, the Joe Biden story should have been a lot different, but sadly, it will always be one of the great self-inflicted tragedies in American political history. A footnote: Joe Biden, the great mistake, the guy forever between two Trumps.